Hey guys, welcome to Franklin Woodworks. Sorry for the scratchy voice, but in this video I'm going to replace this with this, which is going to be where I can store all of my sandpaper away from the dust in the shop. This project is going to be built using nothing but scraps I have around the shop, and the design is going to be pretty much done on the fly. So if you keep your expectations low, you're never really disappointed. I start out by cutting down my plywood to width, then cut those pieces to length using the table saw sled. Now I have to cut some dados, and the top and sides get dados, and two dividers get dados on both sides. Although I did mark out where I wanted the dados to go, I'm just lining up the marks with my eye before making the cuts. I don't need them to be exact for this project. So after another blade change, I cut out the horizontal dividers and a piece of wainscot for the back. So that part was pretty easy, but of all the glue ups I've done, this one was pretty poor. Not poor enough to ruin the project, but still pretty difficult. It became painfully obvious that since I was using scrap plywood, it wasn't all the same width. Who knew that 1/64 of an inch could cause this much headache? But with a dead blow mallet, a block plane, and enough clamps, the cabinet finally came together. I had a small piece of cherry that I was able to use as edge banding for the plywood. After cutting some thin strips, I cut each piece to length, added a little glue, and tacked it into place with some pin nails. I didn't care so much about seeing the edge of the plywood, but because there were some voids in the plywood, and I was planning on labeling the cubby holes in some way, I thought that the edge banding would be the best way to go. Now I have to make some doors. I had some primed finger joint pine laying around, so I cut it to length, then cut a slot in each piece for the panel. I used dowels to put the doors together, and because I used a stop block on my sled when I cut the stiles and rails, making sure that the lengths were exact, the doors go together with perfect joints. Just a little sanding and a round over on the edges, and these doors are ready for paint. And when I say paint, I mean whatever I had in the shop. I didn't want to spend a penny on this project, And since I used at least 3 different varieties of plywood, paint was the only way to go. And red pepper was the only color I had. One thing I genuinely despise is putting in door hinges. Now maybe I'm just dense, but it seems like every time is the first time. But I was able to get it eventually. So then a little paint on the outside of the doors, and the cabinet is almost finished. But I need a couple of knobs, so I go over to the lathe to turn a couple out of some scrap mahogany. The piece I used happened to be one of the first things I ever turned on this lathe. But after a coat of Danish oil and a couple of screws, this thing is done. All I have to do is transfer the sandpaper into the new cabinet. If you've discovered that you cannot live without this channel, do yourself a favor and hit the subscribe button. And think of the lives that you could change if you did the right thing and shared this video with the people you care about. So that wraps this one up, and there you go.